Welcome to the Kenojuak Ashevak Memorial Award Shortlisted Artist Panel Discussion. My name is Heather Campbell, and I'm the Strategic Initiatives Director for the Inuit Art Foundation. Let me first acknowledge that the main offices of the Inuit Art Foundation are located on the ancestral and traditional territories of the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and the Huron-Wendat, the original owners and custodians of this land. Today, this place is home to many, including a diverse urban Indigenous community of Inuit, First Nations, and Métis. This panel discussion is part of the programming for the 2021 Kenojuak Ashevak Memorial Award, which was established in 2014 to honor the legacy of the late Kenojuak Ashevak and celebrate a mid-career Inuk artist. This year's award was originally slated to be released in 2020, but was postponed, of course, due to COVID-19. The award is dispersed biannually and is entirely funded by donors. We are excited to announce that this year the award has shifted from a residency-based funding to a monetary award. It is because of donors, many of you that are watching this evening, that we are able to expand the award to include a short list of 3 artists this year. Shortlisted artists receive $3,000 each, while the winner receives $10,000 towards their practice. We received a record number of applications this year, and they were reviewed by an all-Inuit external jury. I also want to take the opportunity to thank all of the donors for your support. If you would like to help ensure the award's future and make sure that Inuit artists can be recognized in this way for many years to come, please do so on our website at inuitartfoundation.org/donate. Right now, the Wilmot Bruce Hunter Foundation is matching your donations up to $20,000. So if you donate today, it will be doubled. I really hope that you'll take advantage of this opportunity to double your impact and continue to support artists. But this evening, we're here to learn more about our shortlisted artists. They are Eldred Allen, Tagalik Duffy, Kablusiak, and Kuzine Van Hoevelen. Leading the discussion is the inaugural winner of the award, Lakuluk Williamson Bathory. Thank you so much, Lakuluk, for joining us. Now over to you.
Hello, I had to turn on my video and sound. I hope that everybody can see me. And I also hope that our internet connection will stay strong so that I don't disappear on you. I also just want to let you know that I have my 6-year-old Naya, who may come in and out, and I'm really happy to have her around and for her to be learning from all of these amazing artists that we're going to be spending time with. I really want to make sure that we're all just having a nice conversation that's informal, and that all the babies that may be around are more than welcome to participate as they need to and want to. But first things first is I think that everybody needs to turn their video and sound on. There's Takalig. There's Kuzine.
Hi.
Hello. And where do we have Kablusiak Eldred? Taba. Oh, so good to see everybody. I'm really excited to spend time with everyone. I'm really excited for us as a group of Inuit artists to be talking about our practices, telling stories, and to be together. It's the way it should be. And I think maybe what we should do is actually go around our little Zoom room and do some introductions, maybe just simple, starting with your name, where you're currently living, where home is if you're not currently living at home. And then also, if you were the sunset tonight, what would the sunset look like? What would the scenery be? What would the colors be? And what would be included in there? just to make it fun. And maybe I could start with Kenojuak, if you'd like to give your first little intro.
Sure, thank you. Koya Naini. Akana uvanga kablusiak apangma atinga Arlen Carpenter ikahokmun amam mga atinga Holly Nasagalawat Carpenter tuktuyak dumun. Hi, my name is Kablusiak. My father is Arlen Carpenter from Sax Harbor, and my mom is Holly Nasagalawat Carpenter from Tuktuyak. I was born in Yellowknife, raised in Edmonton, and I'm currently living in Calgary. And visual artist and curator. And if I were a sunset, it would be blue and purple over the ocean, the Arctic Ocean. Thank you.
That's lovely. Thank you. Cousine, do you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Kazine. I'm a sculptor mostly. I'm living in Bowmanville, Ontario. I'm originally from Kenojuak, Nunavut. And if I was a sunset tonight, I think just maybe pinks and purples, like all the way across the sky.
It sounds very nice. Thank you. Eldred, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Eldred Allen, and I live in Riglet, Kenojuak, so that's in northern Labrador. Lived here all my life, besides a short 1-year stint in Ottawa while we lived and worked at ITK. So I guess if I were a son, as an artist, I'm a photographer. So I guess as a sunset, I'd like a nice blazing sunset with bright oranges and reds and stuff like that, but I'd like it to be cool. I'm excited for fall to come so I can get out with my camera and photograph it, because there's so many mosquitoes and bugs. It's hard to get out and enjoy it. So I'd like a nice cool sunset to get out and enjoy.
I like that touch. No more bugs. We're done with the bugs for the summer. Thank you very much. Thank you, Eldred. Takalig, ibili.
Ala kalungay, uwang nga takalik dafi sadok mi to yung ila anan ko ka sadok mi tay. Manali Saskatoon mi to yung but I miss home. So my name is Takalik Duffy. I'm originally from Sudbuck, Coral Harbor. I'm currently in Saskatoon, and I don't know, what do? I write, I collect bones, I do whatever I want. No, I just follow the ideas, and that's my most favorite thing to do. If I was a sunset, I would be very hazy. It's like I would put clouds all over me so that it wouldn't hurt your eyes to gaze upon my beauty. No, I just want a little bit of cloud coverage, like a filter, nature's filter.
Make yourself a sight for sore eyes.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So I was thinking maybe we could keep on going around in a circle, answering a few questions for each of you, and then we'll go into some more specific questions for each one of you. So you all kind of addressed it a little bit, but I want to hear a bit more about what exactly you make as artists. What is your, what do you make, and who is it for? And we'll just go around in the same circle. We'll start with Kenojuak.
So I make works in a total giant range of media, from like installation to photography, video, performance in the past, sculpture, drawing. But it's all sort of together on the theme of like diaspora and humor and like coping with trauma. And audience wise, I think it depends. Like sometimes I make work for Inuit, sometimes I make work for, my friends and family. Sometimes I make work for white people. So it all sort of depends on the context.
Mm, that, I can see that when I'm picturing your work now, that there are all those different directions in who you're directing it to. Yeah, so let's keep on going around the circle. How about you, Cousine?
Yeah, I'm a sculptor, and I do I work with a lot of Inuit hunting and fishing implements, and the kind of everyday objects or important objects that I think are cultural objects. And I work in a range of different materials, usually anything I can get my hands on. And I often make big work, playful work, you know, and I forget the second part of the question. Oh, my audience.
Your art.
Yeah, I make audience. I make work for other Inuit, and I make work for friends and family, and my community, and sometimes it's specific people, or maybe it's Inuit in general. But that's the primary audience, and a lot of the work ends up being shown to maybe not those people. Like, it gets shown mostly down south, so there is an audience that sees it that might not be the audience that I'm making the work for, but it's my community and my family that I keep in mind when I'm making the work.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Eldred?
Well, I'm a photographer. I consider myself a brand new artist. I don't know if anybody's read the interview that I did, but accidental artist. I never ever set out to become a photographer. It was something that kind of organically happened as a side put from my business. So when I started photography, it was something that I quickly found I was really interested in and passionate about. When you live anywhere, you become like you operate your daily routines with your blinders on, right? I live in a beautiful location, but I never seen it that way just because I'm used to being here. I'm used to looking out and seeing whales. I'm used to looking out and seeing seals all the time. It was just every day. And the amazing thing that I found that the camera provided to me was that it opened my eyes to where I live again. One of the great quotes that I continue going back to is, the camera is an instrument that teaches you how to see even when you don't have a camera. So, when I started photography, even if I don't have the camera now, I'm looking at everything, I'm noticing everything. So that's something that I found is one of the great things about photography and what it's given me. And regarding for an audience, where I'm still new and I'm still excited about photography and everything, right now I'm doing it for myself because I'm passionate about it and I'm excited about it. And what I'm trying to do then is go out and photograph things that I enjoy. And when I'm doing that, I'm coming back and sharing those things on social media, and people are enjoying them as well. And I'm hoping that through my photography, I'm opening other people's eyes to say, hey, this is where I do live and it's beautiful. And they're getting to see where they're too, freshly and with new eyes again, kind of the way that I'm seeing it again through, what photography has given me. So that's one of the things that I'm trying to learn, as a new artist. I'm trying to consume all this information and trying to figure out who I am and what I'm doing with photography. And, all of the great photographers that I'm following are saying, if you start to try to take photographs for other people, you're losing the essence of what you're doing it for, and then you're probably not going to enjoy doing it anymore. So right now I'm still in that phase that I'm always going to try to do things that take pictures that I enjoy, put them out there for people to see, and hopefully they enjoy them as well.
That's very interesting. Yeah. How about you, Dakari?
As far as art goes, I think kind of stumbled into it. I always wanted to be an artist in a way, but I don't know, when you chase something, sometimes they don't work out. But it started with the bones. I found the bones on the beach, and it just was this beautiful little gift perfectly two washed up bones. And I remember just thinking like, oh, those would make such pretty earrings. And then it became this absolute obsession to go find discs. And then, you know, I never thought I'd be like breaking off whole carcasses of Kenojuak, you know, and cleaning them and not being squeamish and just really enjoying the entire process. There was no thought of like, I'm doing this for anything other than just doing it and finding it and being out on the land. And then with drawing, it was with my Angayuk because she was always drawing. So I would draw with her. And I think really, if you look at the foundation of what I do as like the things that I make or whatever, the things that I find beautiful, it was living away from Nunavut for so long. Like I was a typical Nunavut teenager. Like I hated it. I wanted to get out. I wanted everything that was on TV instead. Then I lived away for 10 years and I found myself just longing. Like I never thought I ever would. My aunties would say, you know, they couldn't breathe properly till they were in Nunavut. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, but then as I became like, as I was gone for so long, and it kind of reminds me of COVID too, keeping us away from the Nuna. It's like you feel it in your bones. So when I would go back home, I would take pictures of like anything because I thought everything was so beautiful. So my mom would be, one time I took a picture of like her fermenting fish heads in the porch. Like this is before social media, you know, like not everyone was always like, thinking these things are beautiful. Maybe we always were as Inuit, you know, but so I would take, my mom didn't think it was beautiful. I took a picture of it and she would say, which is like, you think anything is like, just be mind-blowingly beautiful now. But I think that was the gift of being away for so long. It's so cliche, but it was like, once I came back home, it's like everything, like kids at the co-op, you know, just anything that I looked at, I found beauty in it, like China lily, you know, the things that you just miss that you don't see when you're away from home. So I think those are the things that are coming out when I'm trying to, when I'm creating, like I'm not consciously really doing it, but it's like this love affair with Nunavut and home that is like harassing me.
Right. Who do you make for then?
I just make so that my mind will leave me alone. So, but I mean, there are like with the bones, is like, there's like this beautiful thing where it's something I was doing for myself, and then other people find it beautiful and want it, you know. So definitely when like you've worn my earrings, Kablusia, you know. So to see that, like that is the best thing in my life, to see people like it is. Otherwise you just be a crazy bone lady, you know. But if you're making bones and turning them into at least it's going somewhere. You know.
I really get the sense from all of you that you take the ordinary things and bring them to the extraordinary level. Like Takarik was just saying, Kisutuin na take whatever it is and make it into something beautiful. But it's like taking your eyes and flipping them around in your brain so that you can see your own home in new ways and appreciate the people that you're surrounded by. That's the sense that I get from each one of you, is that you're actually like taking the things from everyday Inuit life and then making it the extraordinary Inuit life. And as it turns out, it's a gift for all of us, the things that you make. So it makes me think about the spaces that you need in order to make art. And I'm talking about space as in physical spaces, societal spaces, emotional spaces. What are those spaces that each one of you need to access? And are you able to access that kind of space on a regular basis to make your art? We'll start with Cuisine this time.
Switching it up. That's fair. I guess I'll start with the physical space. I've got a studio at my mom's place in Bowmanville here. And it was, my dad built it as a welding shop. And it's a pretty big, very functional workshop type space. It's really perfect for the kind of work I do. And it's also a shared space with a lot of stuff, with a lot of other people's stuff. So it's a kind of a negotiation a lot of the time, but but it is a very functional and it's a really good space. So that I'm always able to access that. The only challenge is, I think, getting in the right headspace to get to the studio. Like, that's more of a challenge than physically getting there, but it's easy once I am there. And so I think I'm just kind of thinking through the question, like, emotional space. I think it just means, having the time and the kind of thoughtfulness into like having that dedicated thought into a project that will bring you into the studio. And then once I'm in there, it's really easy to make the work. And I always say that's my favorite part of it. I mean, there's so many parts of being an artist, and I struggle with a lot of them, but the making of the work itself is the really fun part, and the part that I'm good at. And
Once flow.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Once you get into the flow of the work, that's what you enjoy the most.
Yeah. And then it's really easy, and well, or it comes easily, maybe.
Yeah. Thank you. Kaplusya, Billy.
Physical space wise, I have a studio, which I'm super thankful to have. It's at the Bose in Calgary, very close to my apartment, and having that space is really nice. Like prior to that, I was just working at my kitchen table, but like having that separation of home and studio is so beautiful to have, and for me, very necessary. Otherwise, like, the conditions that I need to like be able to make are like, I don't know, it's really funny. Like, I like can't function without structure, but I also cannot make my own structure, and I hate having structure in my life. So it's like a really, like, I don't know, I just recently made myself a schedule where I was like, these days are curatorial days and these days are studio days.
Yeah.
I haven't started following it yet, but it sounds like it would be helpful. So I think it's just a mindset thing too, of like getting into the studio and then asking my brain, like, what do you feel like doing today? Because I'm not in charge, you're in charge. Yeah.
Like you kind of need the tension, the pull back and forth between structure and non-structure.
Yeah, that's why I'm like,
flow.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. There's probably a delay on the line, but it's just like the idea of like free flow thought being tugged with a structure that you may resist.
Yeah, very thankful of galleries and other places giving me deadlines, because then I'm like, okay, you got to do the thing.
Yeah, I see. Eldred, how about you?
Well, I'm very fortunate that, where I live, I still live in, remote northern Labrador. So it's, I've got all the space in the world. It's, this right here, you can't see, it's just off camera, but I'm touching my door. And, one day I was looking out my front window because I live right on the water, and it was raining and it was foggy, and there were beautiful layers being created in the fog and the trees. And I just stepped out on my front steps and took a beautiful picture that's been, one of my most popular with people. So, I'm fortunate to live within the space. It's wherever, I can walk off my front step and there are rabbits there. I can just walk down my front steps and take pictures of rabbits. My wife called me from work a couple of days ago, and there are 3 baby squirrels in there. So it's just, myself and my daughter got in our truck, drove a minute, and I'm out taking pictures of baby squirrels, and there's a baby squirrel running up my pants leg and stuff like that. So I'm very fortunate to, completely be surrounded by the space that I want to take photographs in. You know, it's wherever, because I'm fortunate enough to wherever I put my camera, there's probably something interesting to take pictures of. And I'm very fortunate in that I'm given the space to have that, to have the freedom to go out and try to create things, because I have the most supportive wife. So she gives me, you know, complete free license and space to go out, and she wants to see me succeed. So, you know, just knowing that I've got that emotional and family support, it opens up the world, because I don't feel like I'm constrained in any way. And if I'm having a bad day, you know, it's just a matter of picking up my camera and going out and letting yourself be consumed by where you're to, and just try to see things that are beautiful and take pictures of them. So I'm very, very fortunate that, you know, I'm in a huge, expansive open space full of beauty, and I'm given that support to go out and explore it, and that hopefully then that's reflected in some of the imagery that I'm, you know, because I'm mentally there, and I'm mentally kind of focused and just consumed on where I'm to. That allows you to, you know, create better pictures and stuff, because I'm not always thinking, oh, do I have to get home now to feed my daughter? Do I have to get home because of this reason or whatever? So, you know, I have all that space, and I'm very, very fortunate for it.
It's like that, the intense love of homeland that all of you have, I think. But it's right outside their front door, right there for you. Yeah. Takalik, what do you have?
For physical space, Snafu Beach. I need the whole beach, wherever there's any dead belugas. No, I think for me, I've always worked at home, just kitchen table. I feel kind of guilty about it. I was thinking about this yesterday, because, you know, like the whole family gathering around the table having nice meals. Like we just eat anyhow, anywhere, and like my table's usually cluttered with bones and fur and pencil, crayons, or markers. And so it would be nice to separate that eventually. But for now, it's like I just need any space that I can get the job done. And I'm okay with that, you know, just to do it. And then I like, for me too, like I relate to Kenojuak with the structure versus not. But I just also, I like to clean, like just have a nice space. It's not always necessary, but to me, like it just clears my mind too. So it's like it's like easy, it's easier not to hate myself when the house is clean. It's like, haha, like I'm actually maybe a good person. Like, but, and it also, you're not distracted by, I should do the dishes or something, you know, and then you could just work. But that doesn't stop me either, because sometimes if you have a deadline or you just need to work, or the idea is just there, you just get it done no matter what. Emotionally, I have no idea. I just feel like sometimes you got to get over hurdles, I think, you know, like sometimes we create obstacles for ourselves, or like we're not creating it. Maybe there's trauma, maybe there's whatever, like life is happening around us. And but sometimes that also translates into really good art. Like there's this one quote, it's like, what is a prerequisite to being a good writer is coming from a dysfunctional family. So it's sort of like some of the things you need to be a good artist or a good writer aren't necessarily positive things. So it's like you just embrace the darkness. No, but I don't know, like I just try to like not
it's like, I think that's probably the case for each one of us, is that we do need to have tension and friction, and so that we are able to bend our ideas around something that's not moving, or be able to tether something in that is moving, whether it is something in our environment or inside our psyche somewhere. So yeah, it's interesting to hear from each of you how you harness that. This one is it's just a fun question, and just based on a hunch, and any one of you can answer. What was your best dump find ever?
I have so many. Can I go first? I'll just spit it out. So one time I found this like great thing. It's like big, I don't even know what it was, but it was like perfect for earrings. I could probably put like 200 pairs of earrings on there. Another time I found Nanook skull. It's actually, I don't want to unplug my computer by accident, but it's actually, can you see it? It's up there. That was from the dump. And then what else? Upbeat, is it Upbeat? No, beluga, not beluga. Bowhead whale, a vertebrae, massive, like that, because I always do it with Kenojuak. So it's just nice to see it in such like a massive form that I was used to working with, like the smaller form. It was like so big. Just at the dump, just the best.
Yeah, I love a good dump visit. How about the others?
We used to, you know, I'm sure everybody's used to remote northern communities and how small we are. You know, my community is 300 people and you kind of know everyone in the community. So when we first had our, you know, I got two small kids, 6 and 8, but when they were even younger, you know, it's really hard to buy things, of course, when you're completely isolated and stuff like that. And we'd go to the dump to throw something away and we'd look over and there'd be these perfectly functional kids ride-on toys and stuff like that, that another family said, oh, my kid's too big now, and they just threw them out. I'm like, man, we don't have to try to order one. We'll just take that home and our kid can use it. And so, you know, it's, of course, you clean it up and stuff like that, but, you know, we got quite a few good kids' toys from the dump and stuff like that. Save you a lot of time, and kids, and save you a lot of money. So, yeah, no, we did some dump shopping in our day as well, and there's always interesting finds there.
Yeah, the Canadian flat tire.
Yeah.
How about the others? Have you found anything good?
I'm trying to think of what's good. I found a bunch of stuff, but I think one of the ones that I was excited about, and I hesitant to say it because it's not very exciting, but they're just like these threaded, like Acme screw, like threaded bars. And then I don't know what I'll do with them, and I've had them forever, but I remember being really excited to find them, and I'm glad that I have them, although I don't know that I'll use them. And then this wasn't me, but a friend of mine has found TVs and things like that. And this wasn't at the dump, but this is probably the best one, and I'm thinking of it because I was just working on it a couple of days ago. But it was in an abandoned building, and it was a seized vise. And so I cut the bolts off and I took that, and I've been restoring it. So that was a good find, but it wasn't at the dump, but maybe it was destined for it.
Yeah, well, it's a good find anyway.
Still counts.
This is a kind of like, I love these stories. I just found a cast iron pan. I'm like, in high heaven because of that.
Yeah.
Found my two favorite pots on like me and my friend, when I first moved to Calgary, we were like just driving around getting a sense of the place, and like we found a really nice box of like perfectly good kitchen stuff. So I selfishly grabbed like the 2 matching pots that are like from the 60s. They're like enamel pots, and they're kind of like this color-ish, but they're like so cute, and they're my favorite pots. But that's the first thing that I could think of about dumpster diving stuff.
That's perfect. Right on. So this is a question for Eldred. I gather that you're making an artistic project out of using GIS for your family's summer camping spot. And I don't know if I got that correct or not, but I know that you work with GIS and you're working to make artistic projects out of them. So could you tell us more about what GIS is and how you're making it into art for us all to enjoy?
Well, GIS stands for Geographic Information Systems. So it's using digital data and consuming that in computer software to help, you know, you solve problems and do analysis and stuff like that. So, you know, if you've ever picked up your phone and used Google Maps or anything like that, that's a type of GIS system. You know, it helps you solve a problem of where you want to get to and where you want to go. But when I first started, and how my photography journey started is I purchased myself a drone. So something, you know, similar to this one here. But quickly after purchasing my drone, I realized that, you know, the images that it captures can be consumed in a GIS system. So being in such a remote place, there are lots of different people, organizations, and stuff like that that are looking for information from an aerial perspective, or and they can't find any way to get it. So, you know, I figured, well, I'll use my drone for that. But then I learned from doing that you can use the drone to capture sequential imagery and use what's called photogrammetry software, which is the process of generating three-dimensional information from 2D pictures. So I can fly my drone over a site, take sequential pictures, and then I can generate a full 3D model of that site. So the project that you just mentioned, you know, my family used to, as soon as school was out in the summertime, my family would travel out to our summer place, you know, our summer, you know, homestead where, you know, it would be cod fishery and salmon fishing and stuff like that. And we'd live out there for the whole summer. And there was a real community just that, you know, was there in the summertime because of the cod fishery. But, you know, as soon as the fishery was over, it would be closed up for the winter and everybody would go home. And then the next summer it would open up again. But when the cod fishery closed in 1991, nobody went back. And, you know, that area has real fond memories for me because, you know, I practically lived out there in the summers for my entire childhood. But, you know, because nobody went back, the community that was there started, you know, people started to go and scavenge things from there, take things from there. And they also started to, you know, time, of course, since 1991, things are really falling apart and stuff like that. And since I learned how to do, you know, use a drone to generate 3D models and things of that sort, and now also with my photography, I want to go out there and preserve it. So what I want to do is I plan on heading out with my drone, flying over that old community, capturing those pictures so that I can generate a 3D model of it. So then it's digitally preserved. You know, if anything happens, you know, you've got a full 3D rendering of what it looks like. So you can see the old structures that are there. You can see the old buildings. You can see the layout of what it looks like. And I really want to share that with people that used to go there as well, so they can also remember what it looked like. And, you know, maybe their grandparents visited there and lived there. And now, since I've gotten into photography as well, I want to go out and take pictures of it to present it and kind of capture nice artistic images and hopefully share that with people so it can, you know, bring back memories for them. And so, oh, this is, you know, maybe they'll recognize a cabin that their grandfather used to live in and fish in and stuff like that. So the drone, of course, then with that 3D model, it's for myself, when I started doing that, it was strictly a business type thing. But of course, there's a beautiful artistry to it as well, because it's a full 3D rendering and 3D reconstruction that you can interact with. You can turn it, you can zoom in, you can, you know, see it as if you're flying over and interacting with it. So, you know, there's that component to it, and then there's the photography component to it. So it's a way to preserve it, but it's also a way to share it with people and hopefully, you know, help them remember and see the place that they might have fond memories in as well.
Oh, what a beautiful, beautiful project. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
people will access it when you give it to them, like on a tablet or on a computer, where they can.
Yeah, there's
click
different
on
ways of
various
sharing it. When you generate a 3D model, there are certain websites. One is called Sketchfab that's designed for sharing 3D models. So, you know, I can take the 3D model that I generate and I can upload it to that website and share it with people, and then they can interact with it and see it. And you know, then it's not just something, of course, because I have to first create it on my computer, which is local. You know, I can put it on the internet that people can go and access it and stuff like that. And it's been a project that I've had in my mind that I've wanted to do since I started with my drones 5 years ago. But it's, you know, something that just hasn't had the opportunity to happen yet. And so I pitched it to the CBC here in Newfoundland and Labrador, and they showing a real interest in it. So I'm not sure. I'm sure Heather will know, of course, but you know, here in Newfoundland and Labrador, we have a a program called Land and Sea, which talks about the history of Newfoundland and Labrador and stuff like that. So they're planning on sending out a videographer and doing a whole Land and Sea episode about me going out and doing this project. And so hopefully, you know, that'll help share it with more people.
That is incredible. Yeah. No, thank you for sharing. I can't wait to see it in action.
Yes.
I've got a question for Cuisine now. I get a great appreciation of Inuit technology in your work. So I was wondering if you could tell us more about what it is in the design of Inuit tools that fascinates you, and why you play with scale and the actual materials that you use to make representations of these tools.
Yeah, I think you know, those types of objects are interesting to me because they're kind of they're designed kind of with their function in mind, and they if you're familiar with them, you can kind of figure out how people use them, and you know, it can tell you you know, how these tools, hunting implements and things like that were used and how we lived. And, you know, these are the kind of objects that we've carried with us and used, you know, for such a long time. And, you know, and there's, and they're the kind of types of objects that we made as art objects. So they weren't strictly functional, like our artistic energy went into making, you know, the things that we used. And so, you know, I think that's what attracts me to these types of objects. And then as far as playing with the scale of them, I think it's a way for you to, or it's a way for me to kind of, you know, reimagine them or represent them to people, and so maybe they'll give them a second look. Like, so, you know, some objects are, you know, innately really interesting, and then others, you know, you don't think twice about. So when you see it at a much larger scale, or goes from being a small handheld object to being as big as you are, then you have a different relationship to that object, and then you start to consider that object in a different way. And, you know, and so I'm thinking about these objects, and I want other people to kind of experience them the way that I do. And so I think it's a good, it's been a useful tool to kind of get people, to give them that level of consideration that, you know, you don't typically do in your daily life. You're not thinking about these things, and maybe you even see them every day, or maybe you grew up with them, but you haven't thought deeply about them in a while. And so I think, you know, if I can explore those in the studio, and if I can make these objects that I get really excited about, then I can share that with people, and I think it makes it easier for people to have that same experience that I do, that same appreciation, or that same kind of, you know, reimagining, or that exploration that I like to do in my practice. And so I think it's as far as the scale goes, it's a really useful tool. Yeah.
It might be me as one of your fans and one of your viewers, but I see an exploration of gender in some of your work. Do you have thoughts on that? The aspect of men's tools, or that tools are gendered in some sort of a way in your exploration of them?
Yeah, it's you know, it's something I think about and maybe don't have all of the answers to either. It's something that you know, certain tools have associated gender roles, and they talk about you know, the way we lived or continue to live, and the types of roles that we took on or do take on. And so, you know, that's in some cases that's changing, and in some cases it, you know, those traditions remain really strong. But it's, you know, I'm thinking about them, and I'm trying to explore those in a way that talks about those roles, and, you know, gives appreciation to those roles without kind of making a statement about them, or trying to, you know, I'm not being critical of them, or I'm not being pushing them onto people, but I'm trying to give them the appreciation that they, you know, they served us well, and in many cases. So, you know, I've used imagery, and I've recently made a really large ulu, like 5 feet by 5 feet, and, you know, that's traditionally you know, a woman's knife, but you know, I use an ulu too. I know a lot of people who do. It's a useful tool.
Yeah, it's
And even
about the right size for me to keep my kids at lunch. 5 feet by 5 feet.
Yeah. Well, I like to imagine what you would use that for. Yeah, it's a tricky question. You know, it opens up a whole other conversation, and maybe that's part of why I explore it as well, because it's something that takes a little bit of grappling with. It's something that, you know, we're kind of working through all of the time, I think. So, you know, I don't have a tidy answer, but it is
Good.
You know, something that's important.
We don't need
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I'll turn to Dakalik now. You often play with the balance between elegance and cheekiness in your work. Why those two aspects?
I don't know if I'm totally aware of that, but maybe that's just my personality. I don't know. How could I explain it? Like looking at beautiful things, or thinking things that are beautiful that might not necessarily seem beautiful. I like contrasting colors. Just images that pop in my mind, following urgencies, cheekiness, maybe from my dad, always joking, and my mom, my Inuk mom, always mad that he's joking, you know. So it was like there's always that tension there. So I think it was sort of like, I used to split myself in half all the time. I don't do that anymore, but it was always like half Inuk, half white. And it was always these two things battling, and like hating one or hating the other, or accepting one, you know, rejecting the other, or like identifying more with one, and not really realizing that like I'm just Inuk because I was raised Inuk. My mom is Inuk. I speak Inuktitut. But it took me a long time to get there because of just different things. And so I just was raised with a dad that was always doing play, like always, like if you say, can I go to the bathroom? He'd be like, I don't know, can you? You know, like, so you have that very Kadlunat dad with his word humor and puns and Scrabble. And then you have a very Inuk mom who's like, eat uyuk, you need uyuk no matter what's wrong with you. And like, I don't know, it was like a very, very, like there's a lot of friction in that house, in our household. It wasn't always pleasant. So I think, not to say that that's why I do what I do, but I think it's like those little seeds that you can't get away from. So they kind of flower up, and thanks to my dad's dad jokes and humor, like I can't get away from thinking in those terms. And I think it's funny too, because I was thinking about my mom and my dad. So they're like Christian preachers. And so my dad would be preaching and my mom would be translating. And then sometimes he would make a joke that wouldn't translate. It's not easily translated into Inuktitut. And just right in front of the whole church, they would be like kind of bickering. Like she's like, that doesn't, but I understanding both, she's like, that doesn't make sense in Inuktitut, you know, like why would you? And he's just like, you know. So I kind of like to play with things like that, like slogans and things. Like Inuktitut is very complex in certain ways. Like it's very specific to the situation or specific to how you're feeling. or English is less specific, I think, in those ways, you know, like words like suvi could be like suvi or like suvi, you know, like suvi could be just the intonation, which it happens in English too. But I think my mind's always going because of just the way I was raised in that sort of friction between worlds. It's like, I don't know, the embodiment of like the colonial clash, you know, and you can't get away from it. And so I think it's a gift, but it's also like a bit of torment in Anniku. But that's what I like to play with. And I think it's fun. And sometimes I think it's ridiculous, but it's like some things you can't get out of your head. And so it's like you won't rest until you've put it on paper. So
what is the importance of a sense of humor? If we could be serious about how funny you are, why?
I don't know what it is. I love to be funny. I guess if I could be anything, it would be like maybe when I'm older. Thanks for saying I'm funny. Yeah. Inuit always laugh too, like laughing at inappropriate things. I love irreverence. I love stand-up. I think there's truth in it. I think when people are being funny, they're being truthful, because it's sort of, you have this thing where it's sort of like, I can be truthful because you're laughing, but if you're just being mean and saying things, then you're just you know. But I think when there's humor in it, there's, I don't know, it's like a sneaky way to be truthful and ballsy and say what you want, and it's not, like, it's like you could be serious without being serious, I guess. Oh my,
yeah. Sounds about right. Keblusiak, you're also very playful with your art. Can you tell me about how you turn the personal into reverence?
The personal into what?
Reverence. Like, I find that your work takes something very personal, like a butt plug, and turns into this object of reverence that I would so put on top of my piano if I was able to have it, and have everybody admire this soapstone butt plug. Like, how do you do that, and why?
A lot of those soapstone works, kind of, when I was making them, I was thinking a lot about, like, you know, like how, like, Kablinat put Inuit art on a pedestal almost, and, like, you know, it's like this, like, untouchable, you know, Eskimo creation, and this, like, ethnographic beauty of centuries past. And I was like, how could I take that idea of, like, people salivating over, like, an object and mix it with, like, something so, yeah, irreverent or, like, cheeky or ridiculous, and, like, how could I make that into one thing that people are just gonna, you know, some people are gonna just, like, lose it, and other people are gonna laugh, and it's like, I know who's gonna laugh and I know who's gonna lose it. So it's like thinking a lot about, like, expectations and what I know of Inuit art history, and how I've seen, like, Kalunat and Dunix react to Inuit art in the past.
Yeah, I really feel like you are really trying to dig a reaction out of Kaplinat, to see how far, like, where their boundaries are. I really relate to that an awful lot. So then, what does it mean for you to celebrate sexual joy in your work?
I've never thought about it like that, but I love that. Like,
okay.
I think it's more so just being, like, I don't know, just kind of being open about queerness, and, like, you know, not blinking an eye. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh yeah, I'm 28, I live in Calgary, I'm not straight, like, I make art. Like, it's kind of just like like, hopefully by incorporating it so much, it kind of takes off the like, like, you know what I mean? Like when people assume you're straight, like it's that kind of like not assuming anything or anybody is straight until they say so. But yeah, something about like living in a queer body and just making art because that's your lived experience, if that makes sense.
It reminds me of what my friend says: "You're gay until you're proven gay."
Love it.
And it's something that we so need in many aspects of our colonized lives. Is somebody just being very, deadpan about how celebratory it is to be within our bodies, and how funny it is to be within our bodies. Yeah. So that kind of brings me back to a few more general questions for each of you to answer. And we're starting to, I think, get short on time. So I won't do like a round circle, but people can just kind of pop up with their first thoughts. So I'm thinking, what does community mean to you? To each of you or one of you? What is the definition of community?
I would just jump in. Wangali, I would be nothing without community. You know what I mean? It's like there's always this ideas. I don't know, like that whole no man is an island thing, but especially in Inuk culture, it's like we're so reliant on each other. And as I sort of started making art, it's like my angay would give me paper and paint freely, and then people would be giving me antlers, or like I had never sort of had this experience of like this negativity. Instead, I had like a tremendous support, and usually from like the most randomest people, and it would just make you so kesung and so grateful, and like everyone just believing in you and everyone wanting you to. I mean, it sounds like obviously there's negativity too in different ways, but like for me, that's the beauty of community. And people just bringing me boxes of bones, or like this, even just one disc they had found, like whatever it was, or thinking of me. It's like thinking of it. Oh, I thought of you today, and sending me a picture of like the Kenojuak carcass all rotting on the beach, and just so touching. But I think there's something about it that it's sort of like you found your place, you have a place. It's you're deeply rooted, and nothing can shake you from that. Not the way you look or anything, or so that's to me what community is. And it's always surprising, and nobody can survive without it.
For still living in small small locations like where I'm with 300 people completely isolated, like I mentioned, I have a 6-year-old and 8-year-old. I can tell them go out and play and send them out the door, and just knowing that wherever they go, there's other parents, there's other people within the community that if they see them doing something wrong, they're going to tell them. And you don't have to worry about them. Let them go out and play with each other and play, around the community, and people are going to help raise them. They're going to tell them what to do, not what to do, and they'll come home when it's time to eat. It's just that, there's a real still camaraderie and stuff. And when we lived in Ottawa, it was just so different out there. So I would never imagine sending my child out to play with themselves. It's just not possible. But these small towns and stuff like that, it's just, the community is still there and so strong. And, for my, artistic practice, I'll just show this little, this here is I started a project trying to go and photograph all of the elders within the community. So just knowing that, that's a bunch of different elders that have got out and taken their portrait. They're still so important, and everybody still has such reverence for them and the knowledge that they hold. And I just wanted to try to capture that and stuff like that. So I'm able to just go and knock on their door and go in and talk to them, have a cup of coffee and take their picture. It's just, the community here is so embracing of each other still. And that's, so great to see and still so important.
Yeah, it makes me think about how, like people always call the North or Inuit Nunangat remote and isolated and all those kind of things, but we're actually enveloped in so many people, in love and support, and obviously a lot of very difficult things happening in our communities too that we're also enveloped in. But I always think it's like the opposite of isolation. Except for me right now, I am actually in isolation and I can't send my kid out and it sucks. 2 more days. Do you, each of you or any of you feel like, do you feel supported in your community where you live right now? Lots of nods.
Yeah.
I don't want to go ahead and talk. I'll just finish talking. Let the other panelists go ahead and answer.
Mm.
No, I do feel I'll go ahead. No, yeah, there's a lot of support. You know, everybody is always encouraging. You know, they always see me out going around town with my camera and stuff like that, and they're always obliging to me. So, you know, I'll be coming home from the store and somebody will be down cleaning a sealskin on the shoreline. And I'll just take my camera and go and I'll be right in there taking pictures and stuff like that. Or somebody's picking ducks or somebody is out doing something and I take photographs of them. You know, everybody is really encouraging of that and supportive of it. And they want to see you do good, of course. And, you know, they're always responding to stuff I put on social media and stuff. So, of course, yeah, there's lots of support.
That's so cool. Yeah. What are the best parts of the Inuit art market that each of you engage in?
Okay, I don't know if this is the market, but like what I love about when I started making like click the onesie or like this, there's like just the niche market. Is it niche? I don't know. Of Inuit buyers, you know, like buy Inuit for Inuit. It was like one of the best things. Oh, I just yeah. It's just I think that's just the most wonderful feeling. It's like if you're making something and like fellow Inuit will buy it or wear it, and it's always been there since I started. So it's very supportive and it's definitely got me through like paid the bills, fed my family, you know, me and Bo got us through like traveling on these different things and just hustling earrings. And so maybe just the connection, like no degrees of separation between me and like Inuit who want to buy what I want to buy. Cause I think a lot of times there's middlemen or people who get involved, right? And so it's nice with social media or just how connected we are, how easy it is to get your stuff right to who wants to get it. So to me, that's the best part. It's like, just, you want it, you buy it, okay.
Right. Yeah. 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 How about for the others, the best parts of the so-called Inuit art market that we're all a part of?
I think that it's pretty, you're pretty open to do what you want to do, which was unexpected to me. Historically, there's been like the Inuit art market has, you know, it seems like it's been so specific in what people want. And I think that's really opened up. And I think, you know, I think also a lot of Inuit are art collectors now. You know, we're making things for each other and we're buying things from each other and supporting each other. And so the art market is less, you know, in my case, for me currently, it's less, you know, I don't feel like I'm making work to ship off to somebody like who I'll never see, never meet, like I won't know where it ends up. Like I feel free to kind of make the things that I want to make, you know, whatever that ends up being, and that I'll have some support in doing that. And, you know, I think that's a little bit unexpected. I mean, looking at the history of Inuit art and the Inuit art market, it's felt like it was at one time so restrictive, and now it's really opened up.
Yeah, I mean, the other part of the corollary of this question is like, what critique do you have of the current so-called Inuit art market? For any of you to answer.
Money so I could buy it all.
Or another way of putting it is like Bo coming in and out of the room, and my daughter in the other room there, and all of the Inuit kids that Eldred's kids play with, and the kids that are here on the street. What do you hope for them? as they are watching each one of you create art and watching people consume your art in various ways, what do you hope for them as they become Inuit artists in the years to come?
I'll just jump in just because my Elmick was just in here. But the thing I was talking to you about earlier, Lakaluk, is like just his freedom. He's always been around art, museums, shows, trade shows, artists, you know. So just his freedom. So I always tell him there's no rules, you know, like, and if you think about it, like even the mistakes, what's his name? The painter. He's like, it's just a happy little accident. I can't think of his name right now. But it's just sort of this idea of just the freedom, like just follow the idea, be free, you know, like just do it, whatever it is, just do it, be free. And like he has that sense, you know, because I have, I work very much with fixed ideas. If I get an idea, it's like I have to do that idea, where he'll just sit down with a blank page and he's just drawing, and he has like the movement, the beautiful movement of like Kenojuak, you know, like with the feathers and like filling the page with the arms or strange faces coming out of hands. And so it's like, just that he has the freedom, whatever he creates, to be free. I think that's what I would say. And just have fun. Like if you don't like that one, move on to the next, you know, like it's not so heavy, but it's powerful.
Yeah, I think a lot about like how like the generation before us, they kind of paved a way so that we could exist in these spaces, specifically like galleries and museums, and like made it easier for us, at least how I feel. They've made it easier for us to exist in these spaces. So like hopefully it just gets easier and easier, and it's like they don't have to deal with as much shit from galleries and racism and like internalized racism and lateral violence. And hopefully with each generation of artists that it just becomes more and more, like what you're saying, like more open and more free and less barriers and less shitty white folks in charge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're just, you know, the Inuk artists are just, when you start showing, especially like just coming from first-hand experience, showing it to my kids, they become inspired by it, right? They see what other people are doing and they want to do it themselves. Like, I'll just hold this up. This is with my phone and it's going to be terrible to see. But my son always gets up really early, and that's the sunrise in the morning. So he always comes in the morning because he knows I take pictures so much, and like the sunrise and the sunset, he always got to come and take pictures and show them to me. Oh, the sun is so beautiful this morning. He'll tell me when I get up. And, you know, he's drawing pictures where, you know, I'm the photographer taking a picture of something, and he's just, you know, they see that and they're soaking it up. And when I was, you know, my two kids were sitting around me when I was showing them, you know, the other artists here that are shortlisted, and we were looking at Cuisin's, you know, large carvings and stuff like that, and he's seen it and he was like, I want to be a carver. So it's, you know, it's great to show that other, you know, Inuits are doing great works, and, you know, they see it and become inspired by it, and, you know, to encourage them that they can continue to do it too.
So lovely. How about you, Cuisine? What do you hope for?
Thank you for sharing that.
As soon as he see me, he said, I want to carve.
I mean, it doesn't get much better than that, really. I mean, I think there's an example right there. You know, I'm blown away if somebody can be inspired, you know, by my work. I think I would want, you know, Inuit artists coming up to know that, you know, I think to follow your gut and do the work that you know, that you want to do, that do the personal work, do the work that you're interested in, because it's a lot easier to make than the work you think people are going to like, and you can't know what people are going to like anyway. So just do the work that you like, and I think you'll have better luck with that. I know that I have. Once I started making the work that I was really interested in, people really responded to that. So it doesn't have to look like the art that's come before you. It doesn't have to look like the art you think is Inuit art, because if you're making it and you're Inuk, it's Inuit art. So I think that's what I would want young Inuit artists especially to know.
Yeah, it actually makes me so emotional to hear what each one of you has said about the hopes, about finding freedom, and about just letting your own interests, let the muse take you where it needs to go, and to fight through all the different layers of racism and colonization that we still face on a day-to-day basis. We have been given so much exactly by Kenojuak Ashevak, who has actually brought us all together this evening, and all her contemporaries did so many, they took so many different paths to open doors up for us, and we're going to be doing exactly the same for the ones that are coming after us. And I think it's just so beautiful that we started off as describing ourselves as sunsets, and Eldred brought the sunrise with the thoughts of the Inuit artists to come. And I think that's a great way to end our evening together tonight. I'm just so proud to have been here with you, to listen to you, to laugh, to hear stories, to think about things and understand things together. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Don't go away yet, because we are doing the Q&A session, I think, for the next little while. I think we have until we have another 15, well, maybe not 15 minutes, but probably enough for a handful of questions if we would like to see what they are.
Okay, so we click on the Q&A bit at the bottom of the screen, right? I see.
Yeah. So we have 6 questions, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Do we just answer immediately if we read them and can see them, or no?
No.
Want me to go ahead with the first one?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, one of the images I call the pusher. That's a aerial photograph, of course, taken from my drone. And what it is exactly is it's a perfect representation of the kind of photography that I like to take. It's abstract. You don't quite know what it is. Every time you look at it, it looks like something a little bit different. And even when you do figure out what it is, if you look at it again, it can change and stuff like that. So what it is the white is saltwater ice, which is the cove, the water that freezes just in front of my community. And the yellow is a freshwater brook in the springtime that's flowing out on top of the sea ice, and it's just created a channel, and it's flown in a bunch of different directions. And the reason I call it the pusher is because what I like about it, as I mentioned with the abstractness, is I'll try to demonstrate. I see it as one person holding up a hand like this, another hand here, and his head is down, and the long straight piece is like a tree or a pole, and he's pushing it up with his head down, and he's kind of straining. So that's why I call it the pushers. I see somebody in there pushing something. And you ask somebody else what they see, and they'll see something completely different. And that's what I really enjoy about abstract photography, is that everybody has a different interpretation of what they see.
I can picture it. That's amazing. Well, I guess the question is open for any of you now. Then, where would you like your art to take you?
Everywhere. Anywhere. I don't know. I really appreciate when I have a show somewhere that I get to travel to. It's nice to be able to travel for work, but usually it also means I get to go to a show that I'm in, and usually there's a lot of other artists who are my friends and peers or mentors. And so that kind of gathering, which I'm probably thinking about now because it's something I really miss. I really miss seeing people and gathering and being together with other Inuit artists. And so, it almost doesn't even matter where right now, but, just to be able to do that. So any place we can get together is good by me. Yeah.
The story I was going to say is Manacha, just the way she had told me one time she would go to the Hudson Bay garbage and she'd take old towels and she'd de-thread them to use it as thread. And something about that moment, just like there was a shift in my mind, because it's like I never knew them to have lack. I never grew up with lack, but learning about the history, Mamam Kude grew up quite poor, poor in the sense of like nikikatchengi, like not a lot to eat, and then having to be extremely resourceful and not wasting, not because it's trendy, but because it's essential to surviving and to having better. So she would tell me about the thread. And then she told me they had dried seal intestines to make windows for the sod hut. And something about that just changed the way I looked at the things around me, so sort of like everything became a tool, or everything, is this going to be useful in some way? Or can I turn this something into something else? And it was totally by my ananachek. And I think that's what carries over in the Inukness of like, you might not have the best supplies, the dump as an example, but you just go and use what's around you, whether it's the land, whether it's the dump, whether it's an idea. So it's like, what I would like to say about who inspired me. Ananachera, big time Atatachera, and they were always working with their hands, regardless of what was going on. They were always doing, always making, always like skinning a fox or going hunting, or whatever they were doing. It was like this busyness with a purpose, though, and not so much the rat race kind of a purpose.
I probably touch on a couple of those things, a couple of those questions about mentors and stuff, where you like your art to take you. It's as I mentioned, being a new photographer and a new artist, I'm trying to absorb everything and trying to figure out exactly what I'm doing and stuff like that. And I'm, for a mentor, it's I taught myself photography because isolated community, there's nobody to learn from. I taught myself from YouTube and the internet. And so one of the photographers, of course, that I follow, his name is Sean Tucker, and he just released a book called The Meaning and the Making. And what this does is talks about the why and how of why humans create things. What drives people to create. And it's, it talks about, like anybody here, if you're a carver, you learn certain tools, you learn how to use those tools, you're proficient with them. But what are you going to create with them? With a camera, I can pick up my camera and I can learn how to use the aperture and shutter speed, and I can learn the technical components, but why am I doing it? So that's, I've only been doing this for 3 years, and that's stuff that, it's going to be a journey, and I'm going to want to figure out and stuff like that. And things, of course, are going to change along the way. But, I feel like right now I can use the camera proficiently, but why am I using it? What do I want to take pictures of? What do I want what stories do I want to convey in the pictures that I'm taking? So that's, I don't know where that's going to take me down the road. I hope people are going to appreciate the pictures that they see and stuff like that. And like Huzan said, it's great. I just came back from, I have a few images in an exhibition, and just one of the things I enjoy the most is getting out, talking to people that are looking at your images and appreciate them. I really enjoy that. And I noticed that, one of the participants said they like this to go on this, our gathering here to go on forever. And I'm the same way. I enjoy, I'm isolated. There's only me who really does photography here, and I don't get to talk about it very often. And, it's something I'm passionate about. So I'm the same way. I don't want our gathering here now to end. And that's probably one of the things people be really surprised to learn is, I'm a very strong introvert. if it was just me and you standing in a room together, I probably wouldn't say anything to you. But when we start talking about photography and we start talking about drones and stuff like that, I see Heather's laughing. She probably knows that really well. You know, I could talk about this stuff forever. So it's, you know, that's stuff I enjoy to do.
Yeah, this is a wonderful time together. Yeah. Dakalig Partridge, Dakalig Duffy's Avakuluk asks, where can you see your work? Where can we see your work next? Where's the next place that we can all go to check out where you're gonna be?
I have work coming up in 2 group shows, one in Yellowknife and one in Edmonton.
Right on. What are you putting in there?
For Edmonton, actually for both shows, I made new work. Edmonton is at Otsutsiwan at their gallery. It's going to be like a tufted piece. And then for Yellowknife, it's new drawings. And it's like Garfield and like famous Inuit art mixed together. So probably take pictures and share them online because I'm really bad for that, but I really like those drawings, and I think both shows are opening in like the fall, or I think the Yellowknife one might be open now, but yeah.
Cool. All right. I can't wait to see. You also have curatorial work that I know about.
Yes, so exciting. Adauchikun Wakatamoan opens October 30th, or October 29th at the Remy Modern, and Lakulok and Takalik Partridge are all involved, and I'm so excited for that project. And it's so cool that we get to like work with each other in more ways than one, and I love that about our little small Inuit art community.
It's the best part, totally. Yeah. Yeah. How about the others? Where can people check out more of your work? Where are you going to show up in the world? Where's your work going to be?
In October, I'm going to have my first like solo show. Not section, it's me and Kenojuak Ashuna, like in not tandem, but you know, like together showing. So that's my first series of drawings called Inusira. And it's just sort of everyday life drawings, which has been challenging for me because I'm, you know, it's maybe the most focused approach at art I've ever done, you know, like an actual, like how many different pieces in the theme. So that's really exciting. And then the Remy group showing, I'm very excited about too. And I have a couple other things maybe with the Saw Gallery. I'm not sure what the dates will be, but the pop art show, which I'm very excited about because I've been really wanting to do like big images of pop art, Inuktified. So that will man. But yeah, the 2 shows right away, October, Art Gallery at Guelph and right here in Saskatoon. And Instagram.
Yeah. Big time. How about the others? Cuisine.
I've got some work at Kenojuak right now in Winnipeg. I've got a project I'm finishing up that's really local. So the Visual Arts Center here in Bowmanville. It's, I think, the first time I've actually shown something in this area, which is interesting. So that's coming up really soon. I think that opens in less than a month, I think. I have to finish it very soon. So I know that. And then I think there are some other things that I'm forgetting now that I'm on the spot. But those are a couple things. Yeah.
Right on. Yeah. Eldred, where are you going to be next?
I'm coming to you from my phone now. My computer crashed. I had to get back in. So I'm just holding on my telephone here. I don't know. Right now I have 4 pieces at an exhibition down in Newfoundland at the Bonavista Vista Biennale. And that's really interesting because they have the photographs blown up to like 8 feet long by 6 feet wide. And so it's really interesting to get out and see those. And so that shows on now until September the 15th. And that's with 6 other Inuk photographers from Northern Labrador. And I've also got 2 pieces, which are the 3D modeling pieces that we were talking about earlier. I have 2 pieces at Anua, of course, at the Wag in Winnipeg. And not for sure right now, but I just started talks with the rooms down in Newfoundland. So I may be giving some imagery as along with some video as well to a new, corner exhibition space that they're looking at setting up. They're looking at sea ice change and how it's affecting Inuit and Inuit culture and stuff like that. And I have, I'm represented, or I'm an artist for a gallery in Montreal, La Guille, which is where I had was involved in my first exhibition, is where my artistic, photography journey kind of started. And I've kept a relationship with them. So they have, I believe they have 6 of my pieces there, and they, often rotate those into the gallery and stuff like that. And I've sold a few pieces through there. So there's a few different places that you can see my images at. And that's all I know of right now, as in reference to like actual public exhibitions and stuff like that. But I'm always capturing new pictures and stuff like that and sharing them on social media. And, I posted quite a few in the last few days of just some wildlife that I've seen around. So it's not actual exhibitions and stuff, but I'm always creating new imagery and always sharing them on social media.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of which, where can everybody find you online, each of you?
That's one of the things I don't have right now. I don't have a website where anybody can find me. And as I mentioned, I started a drone business called Bird's Eye Inc. So right now, my drone business, because I'm a full-time entrepreneur, and so the imagery that I'm capturing through that, I do photography through that as well. It's called Bird's Eye Inc. So that's my art and the imagery that I capture for the 2 are tightly intermingled. Of course, I use it for both. And so the new images that I capture, I normally post them on my Bird's Eye Inc. Facebook page. So if you're looking for new imagery and stuff like that and want to keep up to date with new images that I'm capturing and sharing, and also video, Bird's Eye Inc. on Facebook, and also on Twitter and Instagram as well. But generally, Facebook is the most common social media platform that I'm posting on, and I share it through my my Eldred Allen Facebook page as well. But it always goes on usually Bird's Eye Inc. first.
Looking it up right now.
I'm most active on Takalik Duffy and Instagram, like documenting my bone process, and that it's most of my activity would be on my personal page. But I do have an ugly fish design too, which I have to keep up with a little bit more. But I definitely do a lot of activity on Takalik Duffy on Instagram, and little stories and such. So that's where you can find me.
I've got a website, kazine.ca, and I've got social media, but they're both pretty outdated. I haven't been updating them very well, but I think those are really the only places you can find me, unless you find the show. And which also makes me really grateful for the people who do share my stuff, because I'm not always great at it. Just even like this panel is really great exposure for me, because it's not, I mentioned earlier that the part that I'm really good at is the making, and then there are a lot of the other parts of being an artist that I struggle with, and that's one of them maybe is the self-promotion, but I do have a website. Maybe I'll update it very soon.
Nope.
Because like I don't even have a website anymore.
Yeah.
A lot of my work you could see on Norberg Hall Gallery. That's who I'm represented by. They're really great at posting stuff because I'm not good at it, and I should not shame others about it. Do hope to get a new.
Also watching. I can see them in the participant list.
Yes. Yeah, Norberg Hall. Very lovely people.
Awesome. Right on. Is there anything else in the Q&A or in the chat that we should address? I think that you should all look at how much praise that you're getting in there. People loving you very much, as they should be. I kind of feel like we talked about a lot of the questions in various different, in various ways. We answered them.
I see a question directed to me, so I'll answer that. Amy Adams is asking, do the tools have a heightened sense of human presence because of their utility? I mean, the short answer is yes. They're the objects that we use. And, if you hold one of these objects, or if you look at one of them, you can imagine how they were used, how they are used. And you can imagine, that those are the tools that our ancestors used, or even kind of more present day that, if I have things that family have made for me. And so those are still those types of objects, I have either a kind of, I have a sense of, in general, the people who've used these types of objects, are people, and sometimes very, more specifically, I know the person who made this object, or I know the person who made this artwork. And so it has a relationship to that person and their experience. And that's a quick answer for the question that I saw directed at me. So I should answer.
Right on. Thank you. Heather, can we give it back to you to close up the evening?
No, I have the worst job ever because like Eldred, I don't want it to end. It's been so fascinating to hear all of you speak. And like Eldred, I'm back home in Labrador now, and I don't have a lot of artist friends to kind of bounce ideas off of. So this has been a real treat. So thank you all for participating, and thank you to all of the participants that have been watching this evening too. So I just have a few words to say before we close out. I just wanted to thank all of the donors, especially to the Kenojuak Ashevak Memorial Award, who have made this evening possible and have expanded this award to include this incredible panel of artists. A very special thank you to the Wilmot Bruce Hunter Foundation for making all donations up to $20,000. Matching all donations up to $20,000. So please make sure that this award can continue to support artists for years to come by giving generously today online at inuitartfoundation.org/donate. So again, thank you everyone for coming in and sharing your time and your experiences and enriching the experience that we will have with your art the next time that we see it. And a special thank you to Lakaluk, because you've been amazing. As I'm so happy that you're an Inuit artist as well, and you can relate to everything that's been brought up this evening. So I think it's been a fascinating talk. I wish we could do it at least every week, but I'm glad that at least we had tonight. So thank you very much, Nakome. And with that, have a good evening. Hopefully we'll see you all again soon.
Thank you so much.